This group of kindergarten children are playing a game, unaware that the teacher behind them is pointing a gun at them. And this scene, it was all broadcast live on the internet by the teacher, as the children's parents are watching in horror. And it all started an hour ago. Lisa is a kindergarten teacher. She's a beautiful, kind-hearted person. She was very popular with the children. One day the children were watching cartoons as usual, but Lisa suddenly changed her face. She took out a gun and slit it into her waistband. Then she dialed the police. Then she closed the curtains and locked the door. She waited quietly for the police to arrive. 2 more hostages were being held in the other side of the pantry. Lisa's co-worker and the food delivery guy. No one knew what Lisa was up to. The police arrived at the school shortly afterwards. They evacuated the area. A cordon was put in place. The kindergarten was surrounded. Lisa appointed someone to come in here. A specialist called Jack was asked to negotiate with her. The police didn't know what Lisa was playing at. They had to call Jack to the scene. At this point, Lisa made a second request. Every hour that passes, the police had to transfer $50 million to her account, or she would kill a child. As long as the ransom was paid on time, she would let one child go. That's a lot to ask. But Jack had no choice. But to agree to Lisa's demands. But his colleague didn't want to be in control. He was going to use force to suppress it. It was at this point that Lisa sent out another video. It showed children playing a game without a care in the world, while Lisa holds a gun to their heads. The children are innocent and romantic, oblivious to the danger. The videos quickly gained huge attention. Parents of the children, terrified by the scene before them. There was also a huge crowd of journalists and foodies. It was unbelievable. Even an expert negotiator like Jack couldn't figure out what was going on in Lisa's head. The police chief was afraid that the child would be hurt. The police chief, fearing for his child's life, had no choice but to transfer $50 million into Lisa's account. After receiving the money, Lisa did release the first child. She quickly made a third request to the police. This time she wanted to speak to the president on the phone. The police were furious when they heard this. A police officer in the hands of thugs like this, he couldn't stand it. Immediately, a commando unit was sent in to attack. The kindergarten was surrounded, but Lisa didn't panic at this moment. Lisa found a child. She said she would play a little shooting game with him. The child didn't know anything. He just knew he was going to have fun playing the game. Lisa held up her phone in one hand, holding a gun in one hand, and as she did so, everyone was glued to the live feed. This was just Lisa's first warning to the police. The parents of the students watching the live feed on the screen fainted in tears of fear. The live broadcast attracted more and more internet users watching. The story continued to fester. Lisa made her demand to the entire internet. If still unable to get through to the president, every hour he shot a child. Her eyes were fierce and her tone strong. Tens of thousands of internet users began to abuse her. The negotiator was also stunned at the moment. He immediately reported it to the director. The director tried to communicate with the top brass. Soon Lisa received a call from the president.
मुझसे क्या बात करनी थी? मैं 2 बच्चों को बाहर जाने दूंगी। बाकी के भी आ सकते हैं और आमने सामने बैठ के मुझसे बात करें।
With that, Lisa hung up the phone. When the Indian authorities found out about this, they refused Lisa's request outright and told Jack to put the commando team on standby. Knowing all this, Lisa just smiled sarcastically. She found another child. She took a picture of him. Then she took pictures of the 2 hostages. Then she uploaded it to the internet and started a poll. Whoever has the most votes will die. The president saw the video. And gave the top brass a good dressing down and told them to get ready to go to the scene. Jack here decided that he couldn't just sit back and wait. He had the police break into Lisa's house and start searching. And after searching her house, no guns were found. Instead, they found a lot of antidepressants. A search of Lisa's medical records revealed she had been in psychiatric care since she was 16. The police arrested Lisa's mother and brought her to the scene. This was the way they tried to get Lisa to comply. The moment he met Lisa's mother, Jack finally understood why Lisa had asked to negotiate with him by name. Lisa had planned this kidnapping for a reason. It couldn't be that simple. On the other side of the room, Lisa picked up her phone and gave her last call. If the president didn't give her what she wanted, she would take out the hostages. The president had arrived on the scene by now, but Jack wouldn't let him go in. This time Lisa kept her word. She released her colleague and the kid who had been killed earlier. It turns out that Lisa had changed the magazine. It wasn't a real bullet. She didn't hurt the little kid on the air. So what the hell is going on here? This 16-year-old girl was sitting on a bus. The driver in front of her looked at her with an impish smile. She was then assaulted. The mother went to report the incident. The police officer who took the case. But because this type of assault was so common, Jack who was looking for a promotion. He focused on other big cases, so the rapist went unpunished, and this young girl suffered from severe depression. She lived in pain and suffering ever since, and the irresponsible cop is Jack. The young girl 14 years ago was Lisa, until she was 30 years old. She couldn't break free from her fears, so she planned the kidnapping, with Jack leading the way. The president walked into the room. There was one other person in the room, the delivery man. Lisa set up her live streaming equipment. She's going to broadcast this conversation live to a national audience. She turns the computer over to the president. There was a list of rape victims. There were 18 of them. Lisa distributed the $50 million she wanted to claim, and gave it to the victims. The president wondered what she was up to. What had been kept secret for years finally came out. After Lisa had been assaulted, the lecherous driver was never arrested. This left Lisa with an indelible wound, and India's laws on the subject have been inadequate. According to surveys, the number of victims of assault in India is 500,000 a year. The victims are as young as 8 months and as old as 70. She planned all this just to get the attention of the top leaders, to bring more attention and focus to such incidents. Hopefully, the law will be changed again to protect more people from abuse. The president understood Lisa's feelings. She promised to propose a change in the law, to give an explanation to all the victims, and promised to arrest the driver who assaulted her.
वो आपके पीछे बैठा है.
Yes. The delivery man was the driver who assaulted Lisa 3 weeks ago. He became a delivery boy here, but the delivery man kept arguing. Lisa suddenly stood up and pointed a gun at him. Seeing that something was wrong, the delivery man grabbed Jack's gun. He grabbed Jack's gun and pointed it at Lisa, but the gun was not loaded. By now the commandos were coming in. Lisa knew this was her last chance. If she shot him, he was a criminal, but if she dropped the gun, he would never be able to sleep or eat again. In the end, she didn't hesitate. This was the moment she finally let go of the knot. She was then taken to the police car. A few months later in prison, Lisa, she saw the news in the paper. On Thursday, the new law was established. Thursday was also the day when the people of India began to wake up. May the suffering of women end soon, and they will no longer be afraid of the world. At the end of the film, a line slowly appears on the screen. In the 2 hours you have been watching the film, 8 women in our country are being assaulted.